What is going on, fight fans? Welcome to this week's edition of the Total Takedown. This is for UFC Baku. Frankly, I'm surprised that we're still doing this fight week because the UFC is dealing with foreign domestic affairs, potential war, nuclear missiles. It's pretty shocking that this card has not been moved to the apex. I fully expected that to happen. At any rate, we're going to go ahead and break this card down from a totals perspective, trying to give you a different angle to make some money this week. And as you can tell, the show never stops. Most dedicated man in MMA, you're welcome. I've got this wonderful scenery behind me. I went out on a boat this morning. Probably going to try and catch a couple of fish a little bit later on and see if I can order some shrimp for dinner. That is the plan, but I'm still coming to you with my favorite totals for UFC Baku. So let's get on into it. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, please, guys, and let's get into it. First fight of the night, we've got the legend himself, Abdel Wahab, and he makes his return here against Usman. I like the over 2.5 here, you guys. It's like minus 245. I think that's parlayable, and I know I sound a little bit crazy with that, but Muhammad Usman has showed that he's entirely very durable, very tough, very durable, real $2 steak type of guy, right? Abdel Wahab, we've seen him get tired, we've seen him slow down. I actually think he could be suspect to being finished, but not against a guy of Usman's caliber. This is going to be a greasy heavyweight fight. These guys are going to lean on each other. We might get one or two big shots where a guy gets rocked or wobbled, but I just don't think either of them are going to have the gas tank to follow up on something like that and get a finish. We've seen if Hamdi can get takedowns, he will lay on you. He will steal his moments to catch his breath. He will make sure that he grinds some clock away when he does that, and Usman's a guy that's going to be very difficult to physically overpower. So I think we could get a lot of grappling, which means tired heavyweights, which means over 2.5 is going to be the first look for us here this week. The next two fights, I want to just kind of compartmentalize and talk to you guys about them because I think they go either 1-1 or 2-0. So if you play them both, you'll be fine. If you hit them both, we're really good. And that's the women's MMA fights here. Irina Alekseeva and Claudia Sigula, as well as Daira Zelezniakova and Melissa Mullins. They have a very similar setup for both of these fights. Now, Alekseeva and Sigula, the under 2.5 is plus money. You can get plus 125. Zelezniakova and Mullins, the under 2.5 is minus 135. So you're going to have to lay chalk on one. You'll get a little plus money on the other. Like I said, if the chalk one hits and you lose the plus money, you end up breaking even. So I think it's not a bad idea to just play them both here. But we have what is a grappler versus striker matchup in both of these fights. You've got a fighter who has ground dominance. But on the other side of the cage, you have somebody who is extremely dangerous in the striking realm of their skill set. So if Irina Alekseeva gets on top of Claudia Sigula, I don't think that fight is going to last very long. If Melissa Mullins gets on top of Daira Zelezniakova, that fight is not lasting very long either. We've seen what happens if she gets on top of you, especially in round 2, and we've seen Daira fold before in round 2. We've seen Irina Alekseeva be so recklessly aggressive that I don't think many women can take the shots that are going to be coming back at her in this spot, and if she uses those judo tosses and gets the fight to the ground, we know she can armbar you, knee bar you. She looks for punishment constantly. I could see the ref trying to step in and save somebody here, and she takes punches with her face. So the flip side of this is Sigula probably has an opportunity to get a finish herself if she is able to land some big shots. So I like both of those unders, and like I said, this is kind of a compact deal. I would play them both, and then if you go 1-1, you're good to go. The next total I want to talk to you about today is Nazim Sodakov and Nicholas Moda. It's a 1.5, and it's a pick'em, okay? I know there's some tinfoil cap ability here for this fight to get up and over the 1.5. I totally understand that. However, the only way I can look at this is under 1.5. Nick Moda is not a guy who goes to decision very often. I know he did against Mahashat in his last fight. Maybe I am underestimating his improvements. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit for the improvements that he's made in his pacing, in his level of aggression. But all I've ever seen from Nick Moda is he swings hooks, he bites down on the mouthpiece, and especially if he gets tagged or he gets hurt, his response is not to control the situation. It's to swing harder. And against a guy like Nazim Sodakov, that only goes one of one ways. Like if these guys start banging it out in the center of the cage, one of these guys is going down. Now, Nazim, I know, can take an absolute beating. Maybe Moda hits hard enough to change that, but I absolutely know that Nicholas Moda cannot take punishment from Nazim Sodakov if they get into a swinging match. So I'm going to say under 1.5 on that one. I'm not sure it's something I want to play, but it's one of those ones where I think people might get a little cheeky with the over 1.5, and I just want to caution you guys, I don't know that this is the one. I wouldn't be personally making that move. If you do and it hits, Congratulations, obviously. You're a braver man than I. I will not be making that move this week. Next up, you've got Rafael Faze and Ignasio Bahamundes. It's over 2.5 minus 165. That makes so much sense to me in this fight. Bahamundes has a highlight reel. We use the spinning heel kick for the Die Hard MMA podcast intro, right? Like, there's a lot of finishing upside from this kid. He's got nasty chokes. There is no way he gets Faze to the ground, though. So you might be able to get into like a standing choke type situation, sure, but I think that's pretty low outcome. Faze is not a guy who's shooting takedowns, and he's got a ridiculous like 92% takedown defense. So let's be real. There's not going to be any grappling in this fight. So I don't think the jiu-jitsu and the submissions and the chokes are going to be something really on the table for Ignasio Bahamundes. And then when it comes to the durability, Faze is not a guy that gets finished. I mean, he had a fluke injury TKO on his record in the UFC recently. Yes, he's had 2 back-to-back absolute wars with Justin Gaethje, but I still don't know that outside of that spinning heel kick, I don't think that Ignasio Bahamundes hits as hard as Justin Gaethje does. So I think we're going to get a technical fight. I believe this is a big step up, a big test for Ignasio Bahamundes, something he has failed not once but twice. The UFC is giving him another crack at it. What we see when fighters take that step up in competition is they secure the victory. We've seen him go to a split decision with a guy who's short and compact like this before. We've seen him lose a decision to a guy who is short and compact like this before. The UFC is testing this kid and seeing if he's really ready for the contender circle. So win or lose, I think this will be a very measured approach, and I like the minus 165. For the over 2.5. You don't have to sweat who actually gets their hand raised. We will root our boy Ignasio Bahamundes home, but I think we go a full 15 minutes in this fight. Obviously, there's enough firepower for one of these guys to get finished, but I trust both chins to get us there. The last fight I want to talk to you guys about is, in fact, the main event, because, of course, how can we have a show where we're not talking about the main event, at least for a minute? Total set at 3.5. Now, these are light heavyweights, so these are big boys. Definitely some finishing upside here. The over 3.5 is an obnoxious plus 170. Odd to me, with that kind of number, that they wouldn't just give you a 2.5, maybe chalked a little bit to the over on the 2.5, right? You can buy an alternative, obviously. There's websites that will approve that for you. There's places where you can get that alternate, but the number that I'm seeing here is a 3.5, which is a little bit odd. So the under is minus 220. I kind of think this could be an over situation because we've seen Jamal Hill go out there guns blazing in his last 2 fights. It has not ended well for him. He's going to need to be careful with a guy like Khalil Roundtree. Roundtree, he's a bit of an interesting situation right now. He got his UFC title shot. He is really like embellishing his whole situation with the title. He got beaten up. It was never close. But he's like loving every moment of the fact that he got the opportunity, which is great, but he's talking about leveling up, and I'm just not sure that that's actually true. I think Jamal Hill is a much higher level fighter here in this spot, but we've seen that Khalil Roundtree is extremely durable. Guys that can break him mentally, break him physically, take him down, beat him up on the mat, those are the guys that he gets finished by. If you're going to strike with him, though, he is more than happy to strike with you. He's a very high-level Muay Thai guy, and as much as I love Jamal Hill, you guys know I love me some Jamal Hill. He's not a power puncher. He's got good boxing. He's got fast hands, but it's not like he's some brutal finisher. The guys that he's brutally finishing are extremely low level. They're a little on the chinny side. Those are the guys he's really taking out. I want to take you back to like the Glover Teixeira fight. That was an absolute war, but it was a masterpiece. He was extremely technical. All he did was jab, stick, and move, make sure he was avoiding that grappling in the ground game. Like, I think we could see a fight a lot like that from him here because he really needs to prove that he's still got it. He really needs to prove that he's still the guy, and the UFC can count on him at a championship level. So I actually like the over in this spot. Over 3.5 at plus 170 sounds incredibly fun to me. Now, looking at the alternative totals, I'm shocked to see that on DraftKings, the over 2.5 is actually plus 100. The over 2.5 is even money. The over 1.5 is minus 210. Guys, we haven't done this in a very, very long time, but I'm looking at potentially laddering the overs. Your butthole pucker of the week might be the main event between Khalil Roundtree and Jamal Hill. Over 1.5, chalk it up at minus 220. Over 2.5 at even money, plus 100. Over 3.5, plus 170. And then if you want to take over 4.5 and or fight goes the distance, it's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of that plus 250. I could see that being what happens here. I do want to let you know I'm a little worried about Jamal Hill's knees. I'm a little bit worried about Khalil Roundtree's left hand and the leg kicks. And I will say Jamal is in incredible shape. So I really believe he's completely tucked in and ready to go for this fight. But if you can go 4 rounds with Alex Pereira taking some of the big bombs that guy can throw, I am not sure that Jamal Hill is going to get you out of there in a shorter time frame, even if the fight is a little bit more fast-paced, even if he's not as scared of the offense coming back from Jamal Hill. I think Jamal's going to have to fight this thing kind of like a Sean O'Malley, where he stays long, stays on the outside, and wins minutes and avoids the bomb. So if we're trusting Jamal Hill to come out with a good game plan, I think we're trusting these overs. Scary as it might be, that might be the move. That's the Total Takedown, everybody. We'll see you in a couple of minutes for the undefeated post-weigh-in show. No, that's tomorrow. That's Friday. We'll see you in a couple of minutes for Clint's hot props for UFC Baku. Thank you guys very much. Again, hit that like button and sub for me on your way out the door. Let me know what totals you like for this week down in the comments section below. Let's roll.